The Arusha Accords, officially called the Peace Agreement between the government of the Republic of Rwanda and the Rwandan Patriotic Front, were a set of 5 accords signed in Arusha, Tanzania on August 4, 1993, by the government of Rwanda and the rebel Rwandan Patriotic Front, or RPF, under mediation, to end a 3-year Rwandan Civil War. It was mainly organized by the Organization of African Unity and the heads of state in the African Great Lakes region. The talks began on July 12, 1992, and ended on August 4, 1993, when the accords were officially signed. The accords envisioned the establishment of a transitional government, which would include the insurgent RPF and the 5 political parties that had composed a temporary government since April 1992, in anticipation of general elections. The accords included other points considered necessary for lasting peace, like the rule of law, repatriation of refugees both from fighting and from power-sharing agreements, and the merging of the government and rebel armies. Of 21 cabinet posts in the transitional government, the National Republican Movement for Democracy and Development, the MRND, the former ruling party, was given 5, including the defense portfolio. The Rwandan Patriotic Front got the same number, including the portfolio of the interior and the role of vice prime minister. The major opposition party, the Republican Democratic Movement, MDR, was given 4 posts, including the office of prime minister, assigned to Faustin Twagiramungu. The Social Democratic Party and the Liberal Party were each given 3 portfolios, while the Christian Democratic Party was given 1. The broad-based transitional government never materialized, and Juvenal Habyarimana and the MRND stalled the negotiations. The Rwandan Patriotic Front was granted participation in the National Assembly. It was agreed upon by both parties that RPF troops would be allowed to join the National Rwandan Army, but also make up at least half of the officer positions. The accords also provided for establishment of a military composed of 60% government troops and 40% from the Rwandan Patriotic Front. It was agreed that the transitional government and National Assembly would be established no more than 37 days after the signing of the accords. The transitional period was limited to 22 months, after which general elections would be held. The delegations signed the protocol on August 3, 1993, and President Habyarimana and RPF President Alexis Kanyareng signed the following day. Intended as a negotiation for the sharing of power between the rebels and the Rwandan government, the talks produced an agreement that favored the Rwandan Patriotic Front, because of disagreements within the government. The government delegation was led by the opposition foreign minister, Boniface Ngulinzira, until President Habyarimana replaced him with Defense Minister James Gusner in January 1993. The Arusha Accords strip many powers from the office of the president, transferring them to the transitional government. In a speech on November 15, 1992, Habyarimana referred to the Arusha Accords as scraps of paper, and ridiculed his opponents for shunning elections. According to Andrei Gichewa, this didn't reflect opposition to the peace accords as such, he said. Speeches like this coming from the authorities within the MRND toward the latter part of 1992 provoked quite a bit of polemics and were frequently held up to illustrate the presumed refusal of negotiations on the part of the president and his party, the MRND, but this is to make unduly short shrift of the profound communication gap between political leaders confident in their mass appeal and the negotiators in Arusha. The latter, speaking on behalf of the opposition and the rebel army, were busy putting together consensual arrangements intended to unseat an incumbent president supremely confident that he would come out of the electoral process stronger and legitimized anew. The agreement also unsettled numerous soldiers who feared an overall demobilization as a consequence of the army merger provision in the agreement. On October 5, 1993, the United Nations Security Council passed Resolution 872, which established the United Nations Assistance Mission for Rwanda, or UNAMIR. Its objective was the assistance in and supervision of the implementation of the Arusha Accords. The initial UN presence was 2,548 military personnel. The biggest national contingent was 440 Belgian soldiers. On April 6, 1994, the airplane of Habyarimana and Burundian President Cyprien Taryamira, also a Hutu, was shot down as it flew towards Kigali Airport. Responsibility for the attack is a point of contention, with both the Hutu extremists and the RPF under suspicion. The assassination was definitely a catalyst for the Rwandan genocide. It was one of several assassinations that occurred with similar political motives, as moderates were targeted by the CDR, the hardline faction once part of the MRND. Soldiers of UNAMIR were present before, during, and after the violence. The limitations of the UN, due to national sovereignty and the need to remain impartial when conducting Chapter 6 peacekeeping operations, led to the impotence of UNAMIR to do anything more than bear witness to the genocide and protect any refugees at a limited number of sites. After 10 Belgian soldiers were killed in April 1994, the Belgian contingent was removed from Rwanda, and the size of the mission reduced to around 270 personnel. Belgian soldiers abandoned refugees at the École Technique Officielle, who were then murdered by the Interahamwe and other POWER collaborators. International powers such as France, the UK and the US didn't have the political motivation to send troops or financial support for UNAMIR, although many of these countries were able to extract their citizens from the country. The Ghanaian, Tunisian and Bangladeshi UNAMIR soldiers who stayed saved the lives of tens of thousands of refugees at various sites, including Amahara Stadium and Hotel Mille Collines. The